It's no secret that Sandfall Interactive struck gold when they released Clair Obscur Expedition 33 earlier this year. With over 5 million players worldwide experiencing all the joy, grief, anger, and triumphs this game has to offer. For an indie studio founded just 5 years ago with a team comprised of amateur game designers and an idea that began as a Reddit side project, this is an industry-defining feat. Thanks to their publisher, Kepler Interactive, I recently had the opportunity to sit in on a private Q&A session with Guillaume Broche, the founder of Sandfall Interactive, and Nicolas Maxson-Francombe, the art director for Expedition 33. We were strictly asked not to record or stream the session, but with permission, I did furiously scribble notes to bring you an exclusive inside look at what the developers had to say. Really quick, just in case you've been locked in a bunker since April, I'll give you a quick spoiler-free summary of the game. But for those of you who are participants of modern society, you can skip ahead to this timestamp to get straight to the Q&A recap. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the debut title released by Sandfall Interactive on April 24th, 2025. Players enter a hauntingly beautiful world inspired by Belle Epoque France, where the monstrous figure of the paintress looms larger than life. Every year, she paints a number on her monolith, and everyone older than that number is erased unless an expedition of heroes can finally stop her. This narrative-driven, turn-based RPG incorporates real-time reactions, punishing boss fights, endless build crafting styles, and dozens of secrets to immerse players in this epic, record-breaking game. It is now the most highly rated game ever on Metacritic and swept 9 awards at this year's Game Awards, making it the most highly awarded game in the history of the show. Have I convinced you to play it yet? All right, now that everyone's caught up, just a quick disclaimer that I took notes as accurately as possible, but without an official transcript, I did have to paraphrase some answers. So while all the information here is accurate, some direct quotes may have been shortened, paraphrased, or slightly reworded for clarity. Sandfall, please don't sue me. So without further ado, let's pull back the curtain and take a look at what the developers revealed about the game and beyond. The Q&A session was hosted by Davey Robson, the Kepler Creator Collective program lead, in a private Discord stage channel on Friday, December 19th. About 55 creators joined the call from locations all over the world, and the energy in the chat before the session started was absolutely buzzing, with most of us feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. And one participant reported they were even in full baguette outfit cosplay for the occasion. Davey kicked off the session by opening the floor for Guillaume and Nicolas to talk about how they were feeling post-Game Awards sweep. Nicolas replied simply that it was quite surreal, and Guillaume recounted it was a super joyful moment for the studio. We feel very lucky and blessed. Davey also brought up the free update that was announced at the Game Awards and asked what inspired the new Versos Drafts DLC. Nicolas: I think from the first brief that I could remember was it was supposed to be Versos' childhood. It should be childish, colorful, kind of crazy. We could really explore areas that could be colorful and different to every other area in the game. It's very saturated, playful, and full of childish puzzles. Guillaume: really, it was a way to celebrate the fans and the game and Versos' childhood. Versos Drafts was one of the ideas we couldn't incorporate in the main game, so this was an opportunity for us to explore deeper into Versos' childhood. Nicolas: I think it was also exciting to explore more of Esquier and Francois as well. We didn't get to see very much of Francois during the main game, so it was fun to explore that character and that relationship as well. Davey turned the questions to the creators present in the call, and dozens of hands went up in the audience. The first speaker was Cryan Branston, who asked, the way the game handles and explores the idea of grief is so layered. Was that an idea to explore from the beginning, and what was that process like personally? Guillaume: at our age, most people have lived through some kind of grief experience, even if we don't talk about it because it's very personal. Writing from experience makes a story that is more personal and true and authentic. The game speaks about it well enough because it was written from a place of truth. Of course, we didn't experience it through the gommage, but it was an adaptation of grief that comes from a place of sincerity. Semiverse Dan asked, in my opinion, the game wraps up so nicely and there's no more to add in the future. Are there any plans in the future for more coming to the title, or maybe for a prologue? Guillaume: we haven't announced anything right now, but for sure we are very aware of the importance of imagination in the story, of players filling in the gaps, and that's so important to make people really love it. You see it in so many art forms of what the characters think versus the player imagination, and we want to leave room to explore that, but I can't say more right now. How did you make the decision to add Turkish language support to the game? Did interest from players in Turkey influence this decision? And is there a chance we will see Turkish language support in future game launches? Guillaume: It was a mix of players asking for things and markets that we feel makes it worth localization. Originally, it had 7 or 8 or 9 languages because it wasn't supposed to be this big originally. Southern Drake asked, as far as art direction goes, where did Simon come from inspiration-wise? Nicholas: when we played Elden Ring, Melania had quite an aura even though she was a simple design. We wanted to bring that simplicity to one of the hardest bosses. The idea is that he's kind of downplayed in the beginning, he seems weak, and then becomes absolute hell in phase 2. We wanted to explore what an old expeditioner would look like. He's an old friend of Verso's from Expedition Zero. Rage Jazzy asked, obviously one of the main driving forces from the events of the game is this painters versus writers conflict in the background. How much of the writer's motivation did you guys build out on, and is that something you can share with us? Guillaume: a big part of the story is that you can fill it in with your imagination. We know everything about the writers, but we don't put everything in the game. We know everything, but we can't share everything about it now. Little One You Are asked, I think Esquier is an incredible character. What was the inspiration behind the character? Nicholas chuckled. We needed a fluffy, cuddly companion, something quite fluffy and large. A while ago, I watched Big Hero 6, which gave an idea for what he would look like in size and shape, and that idea was mixed with old Victorian pillows with intricate motifs. As far as his mask, yeah, that just came from off the top of my head. Guillaume: and also we needed something for flying around the map. Nicholas: he's just a big cuddly balloon. Okay Stranger asked, I noticed during my playthrough how every character is so attractive and so perfect in their design. Is the attractiveness or perfection of every character intentional because they are painted? Guillaume: I think maybe it was a bit of a subconscious decision, but we wanted everything to look like a beautiful French storybook. So we have these beautiful characters and beautiful settings contrasted with the violence of the gommage. Zip4 asked, for those who come after is a mesmerizing sentence. Can you tell me a little more about how that sentence came up? Guillaume: so I think one of the very core things I wanted to explore since the beginning of the project is the meaning of life, basically. A very big part of life is living for those who come after you, not only yourself and those around you, but the people who will be there when you are gone. It was really based on L'Horreur du Contrevent. So when you find the first journal, you're finding something cool for Gustave, and Lunet says for those who come after, but it was originally written in French. It's a sentence I've been looking for my entire life. We went through so many iterations of Gustave's death, and we finally landed on just simply that sentence, for those who come after. Hash Brown Cloudy Kai asked, I'm a voice actor and my dream is to work on one of your games. What's the best way to get my foot in the door? Guillaume laughs. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. I don't really work with that side of development, but I can say we started looking for voice actors for the game when it was a prototype on Reddit. We started working with voice actors for free, just prototype lines and things like that, and some of them made it to the final game. Honestly, I have to respect him for shooting his shot. Marco Rar asked, why, in an update to thank the community on the topic of Verso's childish world, do you really want to see us crying blood? First the scale, then Oskio, the battle tower bosses, and finally, the worst of all, the subject of my nightmares, the red buoy. Guillaume: we nerfed the hardest boss in the 1.5.1 hotfix, but we wanted to make it a range of difficulties for players to feel all the emotions of life, including anger. When you reach the max level and max gear, Simon becomes too easy, so we wanted a really, really hard boss for the players who have played way too much to chew on for a while. It's content for some players, but not all. Norby asked, why do you think Clair Obscur managed to become popular when other Western JRPGs failed to reach similar success? Guillaume: I think it's a mix of things. Honestly, it all makes no sense. It was not meant to be this big. First is a little bit of the presentation. It's been a long time since we had a realistic JRPG or turn-based game. A mix of realistic graphics with JRPGs hasn't been done in forever. This is my favorite kind of game, so that's how it started. We just thought no one is doing it, so we had to do it. The writing, presentation, everything feels different and fresh, and we really didn't take inspiration from JRPGs at all for that part. The inspiration was really all from movies, books, series, etc., so it felt sincere and authentic because we made what we wanted to do. Also, the presentation with the camera animation in the realistic style is more akin to bigger games today, and then it's combined with stories that really worked well with people. We made a story and game we wanted to make. The music, art, style, writing, everything, it's authentic and well done enough. There's not one particular component individually. Tony Stark Gaming asked, how did you bring Charlie Cox into the game? Guillaume: It was all thanks to Kepler, our publisher, who helped guide how we should do marketing for the game and put us in contact with Charlie. Of course, we have a marketing budget and we can spend it on things to add value to the game. We hired Charlie Cox to reach people who wouldn't normally be interested in this type of game, and his voice and demeanor matched Gustav so well, and he accepted almost immediately when we pitched him the role. Rael asked, did you always intend to have multiple endings? Guillaume, actually it was one of the first things we decided. We already had 2 endings written, so it was something we really wanted to do. I like games that don't offer you too many choices as you play, but at the end it just asks one thing of you, to make one choice. I like when the choices aren't all good or all bad. You just make it as an informed choice, hopefully, and see what happens. Good stories invite people to reflect and think on their own life and experiences. It allows the player to really connect with what we've tried to express since the beginning in a situation where it's almost impossible to know what should be done. The cool thing is that everything we added in the game fed into the ending and elevated the ending so much. It really turned out 100 times better than what we planned in the beginning. Rael's second question was the raft minigame. Just why? Guillaume laughs. It's my personal little baby, and I love that everyone hates it. I've loved minigames since I played Final Fantasy VIII. 10 was the worst, 9 had the jump rope in the beginning that was hell, but chocobo racing in Final Fantasy X was the worst. I was looking back at memories of Final Fantasy X when I designed this, and I think the raft is a lot easier than the Final Fantasy X minigame, but we aren't hiding the best gear behind it or anything. But you can thank Nico for the Endless Tower. He designed that in one afternoon. So the next speaker prefaced their question by verifying it was okay to ask more critical questions, and after a pause, the hosts agreed. Crisco asked, we've all heard the news going around about Larian Studios' use of generative AI. To what extent was generative AI used in Clair Obscur? How was it beneficial, and how do you plan to use it in the future? Guillaume. Yeah, we're aware of what's been going on with that, but I can say everything in the game is human-made. When AI first really came out in 2022, we'd already started on the game. It was just a new tool, we tried it, and we didn't like it at all. It just felt wrong. We had originally used it as a placeholder for textures we missed, but we took it out as soon as we saw it. But yeah, the concept art, voice actors, everything is human-made. It's pretty hard to predict what the future of the industry will look like, but everything will be made by humans from us. There was a text question from Camo30 who said, the world of Expedition 33 feels like a blend of Belle Epoque elegance and dreamlike surrealism. What was the most challenging part of translating such a specific historical and artistic vibe into a functional RPG world that feels both ancient and final? Nicholas. We came up with that kind of vibe. There wasn't so much thought of it, it just came naturally. Designing Lumiere and the world was with the goal of having as many fresh and new things out of the box as possible. It's just absurd how it all came together, and we just tried to justify how it all came together. Guillaume. Lumiere was made on the first try. Nico came to me with the concept art, and that was it. That was Lumiere. Another text question from Professor Corzo asked, have you given some thought about giving the players the possibility to use summons like in classic Final Fantasy games? And if so, why did you choose not to? Guillaume. It was on the table at one point, but when we had to make the decision about it, it would have taken a lot of time and resources, and we decided it just wouldn't be doable. Monoko sort of took up that mantle in a way. TZ asked, what inspired you to start Sandfall Interactive? Guillaume. Originally, it was a passion project, just me working on it and learning. When we got a big enough team, we created the studio for real, and we decided to kickstart the studio creation process. Our co-founder was looking for money and building it up. Eventually, we had a demo and a team that was motivated to work on it. Clementine asked, time passes slowly in the canvas, so is there a theoretical place post-game where Maëlle could choose to leave the canvas herself? Guillaume, I hold all the keys to the story, so I can't release it because it kills the imagination. Nicholas, whatever people have chosen to believe, it all remains subjective to me. Guillaume, I get where you're coming from, but I am really attached to leaving things to the imagination. I think what makes stories interesting is leaving enough room to use your imagination. Fioth asked, how were you so confident in today's audience's attention spans to follow the story? Was there a more intricate or web-like approach you had to tone down? Guillaume, I think it comes down to just the story. In the way I like stories that foreshadow, if you replay a game or watch a movie again, it reveals details you didn't see before. We weren't thinking about if it was the best strategy, we weren't targeting a TikTok audience. We made a story we loved ourselves. We didn't think about if it would work or not. We just wanted to tell a good fucking story. When we first did our external playtests, people didn't understand what was going on because they didn't know the story. But the amount of things we say or don't show and don't tell has changed since the beginning. But now we do a lot more show, don't tell, mixed with straight exposition. Fiath's second question was, do you think that going out of your way to find the secondary stuff is important, or should all story bits be included in the main path? Guillaume. It comes back to my previous answer. The story is there and it's important to understand it, but you have to leave mystery. The side content is important for mystery and gameplay, but it's not attached to the main narrative. That's what makes great side content. Personally, a lot of games begin for me after the final boss. The main game is great, but the side content is so cool. In some ways, it feels a lot better than the main story because it feels like you did something different than everyone else and discovered something new. At this point, the session was coming to a close and I was starting to think that I wouldn't get a chance to ask any questions, but fortunately, Davey decided to call on me as the last speaker. According to him, because he liked my name. I had put out a call for questions to my Discord community a few days prior, so I was really excited to pass those along to the team. And just as a side note, you too can be part of super cool opportunities like this if you join our super cool server full of super cool people using the super cool link in the description below. My first question, what was the most difficult versus the most fun part of development? Guillaume. The most difficult part was understanding how to make a video game, and the most fun part was making a video game. Nicholas. Yeah, we really didn't know where to start. We definitely had to start with concepts, but the next part was level design. How are the players gonna feel? All these core challenges. After a while, it became really pleasant putting everything together. Once we started understanding the flow, we knew we had something special. Guillaume. I think the hard part was understanding how we're going to make the game, the art, the level design, how they will all be built technically, but when we got the ball rolling, it was pretty smooth. Nicholas. For me, the biggest worry was, are people going to like it? And the stressful bit, was it even going to work? Guillaume. My favorite was writing and making cinematics because they are so fucking cool. And also working on the game design with cameras and animation and everything. Nicholas. Also, the set dressing was really fun with all the different level designs. Next up, I wanted to press a little more about the future of the story. A member of my community posed the question, how big is the Clair Obscur universe planned to be? The first entry was phenomenal, so where do they go from here now that the dance is over? Are they planning to keep telling the story, or do they have entirely new stories and games in the works? Guillaume, not much we can share, but we don't want to grow too big. We are happy with where we are, we want to remain at this level and do these projects with emphasis on art and characters and storytelling. This is our approach to everything, but we have nothing to announce right now. My last question, was the use of different instruments to represent different characters purposeful? Guillaume. Yes, definitely. We wanted a specific instrument per character because it tells a story about their personalities. Lorien was with us from the very beginning of the project, so he worked so closely with character design from the beginning and composed the music specifically for each character. I want to extend a massive thank you to the team at Kepler for putting together this opportunity and for the amazing work they've been doing for the Creator Collective. Thank you as well, of course, to Guillaume and Nicholas for taking the time to chat with us and answer our questions. If you haven't been convinced already, be sure to check out Clair Obscur Expedition 33, available now on all platforms. I hope you enjoyed this recap as much as I enjoyed attending the session. As always, you can keep up with all of my live streams, content, and more via my social links below, and also be sure to check out the other E33 creators featured in the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again very soon, and of course, for those who come after. Take care.